Hi everyone, welcome back to Radio Resto. So in preparation for the changing of the piston rings that we're going to do, we have to take the head off the car anyway. So while I've got that off there, the new head gasket kit has come with these little rubber washers here that go onto the valve stems. So what they do is they just prevent oil from coming back up again every time the valve moves up and down. So to compress those, you're going to need a spring compressor tool like this. That pushes the spring down and then it allows you to get to the retainers, which you can then pull off, change this little washer here, and then put everything back together again. These springs are very stiff, so you will need a tool like that to do that. And again, with these washers are quite small compared to the actual valve stem, so they're going to take a little bit of fiddling and stretching to get onto that. So it's going to be a little bit of a fiddly job, but let's see how we get on, and hopefully we'll be able to get all these changed. And then the top half of the block is ready to go back on there when the pistons are done, and everything will be singing really well. Now, if you do notice, I am in my kitchen today, so a little bit of a hazard warning for those of you out there. My wife is not at home, so obviously if you are going to do this in your kitchen because it's really cold outside today, please get authorization from your wife or your mother or partner or wherever you got at home. Don't get yourselves in trouble, guys. Right, let's get stuck into it. So it's my first time using this tool, so what I did was I just went really slowly, just positioning both ends of the tool correctly. I didn't want to damage the valve at the bottom or score it or anything like that, so I was just trying to just go very gently, keep checking both top and bottom, just to make sure I had everything lined up before I started compressing the spring down into place. So you can use this tool either way, right? So you can the actual handle can be at the top or the bottom. I chose to do it at the top at spring level just because I didn't want the tool sort of spinning and twisting on the actual valve at the bottom. But also because the spring sort of goes around and can turn, it just made sense to do the top. It is obviously a little bit more difficult to get to the keepers. Obviously having to hold them in place and spin it, your fingers have to keep moving as well. But I just chose to do it this way because the top part is actually a moving part as opposed to the bottom, which I didn't want it to cause any damage. Something just to note here, when I took the spring off the head, I just made note of which way around I took it off. So I took it straight up and then just put it down onto the cardboard on the counter, just so I can ensure that when I put it back, it is in exactly the same way that I took it off. Now I don't know if it makes a difference whether you can flip it upside down or not, but for me, I like to keep it the same way around that I took it off, just because I know it was working before. It'll work the same way when I put it back on again. So yeah, just something to know for you guys, just worth putting, if you're not sure, just make sure you put it the right way when you put it back on. So basically that sits on top of it like that. And what happens is, obviously, when oil comes over the top of the rockers and goes down, obviously the oil spreads over and around the springs. But obviously if the washer's not there, oil can, with all the pressure, it can actually start going down. It'll go down the wells as it's moving up and down like that. Because this is just a guide, right, for it, but obviously oil can seep through. So that little washer that we got here, see if you can see that in the camera, but a very tiny washer like that obviously just sits in the middle and then prevents the oil from going. Sometimes there is another little like a washer that can go on here, like sometimes maybe it's an upgrade or not, but it just sits on top of this and it clamps down and it prevents oil from going in through the bottom. But we'll just use these because we have them now to hand. And then yeah, let's get these changed. So as you can see inside of the top of the valve spring here, the old washer is in there very well compacted. So we've got to try and get that out. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a screwdriver and just gently push it out the top there. It'll just pop out of place, and then we can take it out, put the top of the valve back on again, and then we can put the new O-ring on. If you look at the inside of this top piece here, there's a small little lip at the bottom that prevents the O-ring from slipping past. So once you've got the spring compressed down enough that you can get both the keepers and the washer onto the valve stem itself, say goodbye to your thumbs, because this is going to be quite a painful job in terms of getting on there, but you kind of have to just use both your fingers to hook it on that small lip at the top of the valve stem and then push it over the other side. Once it's in there, you can just use a screwdriver to push it back down just a little bit lower so you can get the keepers on. So this part's a little bit trickier now, obviously trying to keep the keepers in place while the handle is turning to kind of release the spring again. Maybe, lessons learned from this piece, maybe I do it the other way around, just putting it back on again, so using the handle part at the bottom where the top end stays stable. That way you can hold the keepers while releasing the tension on there. But you can still do it this way, you just have to just keep moving your fingers around. Alright guys, and that's pretty much it. So all you gotta do is exactly the same as you did for this one. Repeat the process for the rest of them. What I did as well was, obviously I cleaned the valves, so each time I took them off, check them, clean them, and then put them back again. The ones that had the most, which was cylinder 4, which are these two, these obviously were the dirtiest ones, and obviously with good reason, because there was no or very poor compression in there. They were really dirty. The intake valve was completely carbonated on there. It had a lot of carbon on it. So yeah, gave it a good clean with a wire. So I just used wire wheel on there. Just cleaned it up as best I could. Obviously, just being very careful not to try and damage the surface of the valve itself, so it seats and seals properly. But just give it a good clean as you can. Same thing, check all of them, and then again, same process, each valve, change the same thing. Hope this helps you guys. Thanks guys.